This episode of Own the Grey is brought to you by I Am. Discover your unique talents, realize your potential, and align to your path. Take the first step to uncover your life purpose by visiting debrajones.ca/courses. Welcome to Own the Grey, a podcast to dispel the notion that aging is undesirable and setting new, positive attitudes. I'm Deborah Jones, and I believe you can be vibrant and healthy throughout the best years of your life. My next guest has a master's degree in marriage and family counseling and specializes in overcoming emotional eating with clients over 6 continents. She's the author of What's Really Eating You? Overcome the Triggers of Comfort Eating. It's an Amazon bestseller. Her TEDx talk on emotional eating has over 585,000 views and continues to grow. She spent 40 years on the diet yo-yo, learning every diet and every cheat. But emotional eating sabotaged her each time. When she was staring down her 50th birthday, she made a New Year's resolution, one that she'd made many times before, and that was to lose weight. But this time, she realized that if she was to achieve this goal, something had to change. It took some time, a little help, and she finally found a way to overcome her emotional eating. I invited her onto Own the Grey to share her secret with us. Welcome to Own the Grey, Renee Jones.
Thank you for having me.
It's a great surname, by the way. we're not related. I can assure you, we're not related. So I would like to get straight to the point. What did you discover and how did you lose weight and keep it off?
Oh, the dreaded diet yo-yo. The thing is, it's not just about nutrition and exercise, because you can follow a plan, you can do all the workout, but if you have this issue with emotional eating, sometimes you just can't follow it anymore. Something happens and you're upset or sad or lonely or frustrated or bored, and we go straight to the refrigerator for comfort or stress relief. So it was more about staying focused, doing something else with that emotional stress and energy, and finding a way to follow the plan. And once I, realized that, emotional eating, that's me, that's what's going on, then I didn't sabotage myself every 5 minutes.
Yeah. So let's unpack that a little bit. Let's kind of get to, what is emotional eating?
Well, emotional eating, I believe, is eating for any reason other than hunger. Because if you're hungry, you might actually need something to eat. But if you're not hungry and you're just going to food to comfort or soothe yourself, then that's what I call emotional eating. Again, sad, bored, lonely, upset about something, stressed, frustrated, or happy, because we do have feast days.
That's right.
Like holidays or feast days, right? Or the summer barbecue can be a feast day. So those are happy reasons to eat, but it's still emotional.
Yeah. And so the emotion takes over and we use food to soothe us for whatever the reason that we need soothing. And that's what you identified as why we can't stick to a diet. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, because we only have so much willpower. Willpower is a vanishing resource. And if you're depending on that to stay on any form of nutrition plan, you're sunk, because you can hold it together all day, avoiding the cookies on the conference room table, and then fall to a packet of peanuts on the way home, right? And peanuts are fine. It's just quantity, right? Or you get home and you just can't pass over to lots of dessert. So, but I was on track all day. Well, yeah, because willpower vanishes. So I think if there's something that drives you to food for comfort, that's definitely emotional eating, because we're looking for something to soothe us outside ourselves. I heard once someone said we slake our thirst for joy, peace, contentment with a Twinkie.
Yeah.
How odd is that? That we look to whatever that food is that you love and overindulge in. You're looking at that to make you feel better.
So let's talk about why the Twinkie, or in Canada, I don't know if we have Twinkies in Canada, but why?
Take your pick. Chips.
Yeah, exactly. Anything. Why is the association there?
Because we learn this from birth. When a baby cries, we often put something in its mouth, whether it's the bottle or the breast or a pacifier, dummy, binky, whatever your word is, right? And we get accustomed to, if I put something in my mouth, I feel soothed. And, at some point, we usually take that dummy away from the child. And what do? They cry a lot because they want their binky. Or they put their thumb in their mouths. Or they go to biting their nails.
Yeah.
And then it just reinforces, you put something in your mouth, you feel better. That's all there is to it. As we get older, we go to, let's have that donut or cookie or bread or whatever's available. When I feel bad, I put something in my mouth, and food is the closest thing. The problem is that it's not the only soother that we have. It's just easy. It's just available. And most of all, it's legal. So we don't have to worry about things there, right?
Mm-hmm. And okay, so let's look at what other options do we have. Now, I guess that's probably part of what you've learned is there are some skills that you can learn and things that can help you identify what's going on. So what kinds of options do we have if it isn't the donut?
Well, there are the standard ones like call a friend, get a manicure, go for a walk. But there are things that are specific to you that you go to when you are feeling a bit under your normal self. Mm-hmm. And I think this was made very clear to me after my grandmother died. Now, my Nan and I were really tight. And it wasn't that it was unexpected. It was just so final for this life. And it really took me out at the knees, knocked me for six. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I were scheduled to go on a holiday the day after her funeral, which was fine because, we didn't have affairs to take care of at the time. Mm-hmm. So we went on our holiday, and I basically followed him around for 3 days. Just wherever you want to go, that's fine. I just wasn't in it. Mm-hmm. And on the third day, we went down to this place, this room where they had, books you could borrow and games and all that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I found this puzzle. It was vintage greeting cards. Nope, cards, like playing cards. And just the backs of them, 24 by 12 or something like that. It was just this big puzzle. And as I worked on that puzzle, I came out of it. I didn't stop the grief, but I soothed myself. Puzzles have order. Puzzles, if all the pieces are there, they will all fit together. Men often go to sports because sports have rules, right? You have to follow the rules in order to play the game right. So they like the sports because they like, here's where the rules actually count. Artists often like painting or coloring or whatever, because if you put blue with yellow, you're going to get some version of green. It has rules. So it soothes us in a different way. So I don't know what your thing is, you're the only one who can, but it certainly made very clear to me, oh, I do like puzzles. Puzzles are important. They're no big deal, right? But it's really important to have that order in my life at times when there's no order anywhere, like the last 2 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's interesting that you say that. It really is made me start thinking about what does make me feel better. And you talked about the last 2 years, and what's made me feel better in the last 2 years is being out in nature, because
Mm.
it's predictable
Mm.
to the degree that nature can be predictable. So if it's spring, we've got spring-like weather. If it's winter, you've got winter-like weather. And so to me, that is really it's just an aha moment just happened just now,
Yeah.
is that I can rely on. So it's just
Yes.
like the predictability of your puzzle, you can rely on. You've got all these puzzle pieces. Hopefully there wasn't one missing in the box.
It wasn't actually. They were all there. Woohoo.
but yeah, that predictability thing, which is very comforting. And it also made me think about when when a baby is crying in their crib, we tuck them in, we make them feel secure. And it's that kind of a boundary that we can go back to in our minds. That's why we need to feel comfort, right?
Yeah.
It feels better. It soothes the soul.
There you
Right.
go.
So
Yeah.
now, yeah, so I'm getting it. That's awesome. So going back to the emotional eating part. So if we can identify first what brings us comfort other than something in our mouth, right? Because that I totally get the idea of the soothing, the dummy, the breastfeeding, that kind of soothing. It's our first memory of something that brings us comfort. So where do we go from there with the emotional eating? When we identify some of the things that make us feel better, how do we make that work for us?
It helps to have a list because there are a number of things that can soothe us at any moment in time, right? And having a list, because sometimes you just don't want to work on a puzzle. Sometimes, you're in Canada, it's blinking cold up there. You may not want to go outside.
Uh-huh.
But you might want to look, or you might want to look at pictures on your computer, or you might want to put your feet on the floor to feel the warmth or cold, just to kind of have a connection with the nature of the year, the time of year. But it's about finding something that you can do that soothes that particular moment. Because it's not always order that I need. I do a lot, honestly. Order is wonderful. I love order. There are a couple of shops I'll go in when I want order because I think, oh, it's just so lovely and orderly in here, right?
I could relate.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, kind of figuring out what's going on for me. What do I need in this moment? And having options for that. And that's so personal to each person. I mean, I have exercises that they have to do to figure that one out because they need to know, what is it in this moment that I need? Because it'll be different. And what can meet that need other than food?
Yeah.
In fact, I often say it's not hard to overcome emotional eating. You just have to get the hang of it. And hang is the acronym. So the H is, am I hungry? That's a really important thing to know. Because if you're hungry, okay, give yourself something to eat.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you're not, then what is the attraction? That's the A, attraction to food. What is it that is making you want to go to food at this moment? The N is need. What do you actually need besides food? Do you need order? Do you need nature? Do you need to turn off the news? Do you need to get a hug or play with a dog? What do you need in this moment to feel better? And then the G is go. Go get that, because that will soothe you more than food ever possibly could.
That is beautiful. So HANG is the acronym.
Yeah.
Wow. That is really powerful stuff, but it's so simple.
I like simple. It's easier to remember that way, right?
That's right.
Like, how do
That's
I get the
right.
hang of it in this moment?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So in when you help your clients, what's a typical route that you go to teach people how to get the hang of the emotional eating aspect? So, what kinds of things from the beginning to the end is that stretch?
Mm. I think it's important first to, I mean, we all know all the diets, right? We've tried most of them because my classic client has been on more than one diet
Mm.
and it works for a while, then they get off and working. So, what I do with my clients first is I give them a metabolic test. And it's just questions on a computer. I don't understand it. I just type the answers in and it spits out information because I lost my weight on a low fat, low calorie diet, honestly, because that's all I knew, some version of that. And 2 years later, I was struggling to maintain. I could do it, but unfortunately, I was tired and I was hungry and I was pretty cranky all the
Mm.
time. So I thought, there's got to be something better than this. Something is amiss here. I should be able to eat more than 1,200 calories per day. I mean, I'm only 5'3", right? I'm a small woman.
Mhm.
But that was my weight loss number. I thought I should be able to have at least 1,500 calories and not gain an ounce.
Mhm.
So I stumbled across this metabolic test thing and I thought, okay, well, we'll try that. And it gave me a nutrition guideline that I thought, I don't understand this, but what's a week going to hurt? So I was 52. I was at my goal weight of 119 pounds, because again, I'm only 5'3", right?
Mhm.
And I lost 2 pounds that week eating bacon and cheese sauce on my vegetables. And I thought, I don't understand this, but boy, do I like it. And more importantly, I wasn't tired. I wasn't hungry. And Mr. Jones was very glad I wasn't cranky anymore. So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, there's something in this. We've got to figure this out.
Right.
No lie, Deborah. It transformed my life in such a wonderful way that now I share it with my clients because they need to know what actually works for their body. Because once you find what works for your body, it's so much easier to stick to because you're not, trying to swallow kale or something that you don't like. You're not
Mhm.
trying to live on rice cakes, right? You're exactly. You're eating because I mean, come on, rice cakes. You could eat a whole sleeve of them and
Yeah.
still not have that many calories. It filled your belly, but that was about it.
Yeah.
So we start with what works for your body. And then we look at, okay, what's this emotional baggage stuff that we're carrying? Because that's what drives us to food for comfort. It's whatever memory, whatever experience, whatever hurt, however your heart was broken, that's probably what is driving you to food. Now, there are those who are just habitually, I just like it and I want to eat it. Well, we work on habits then.
Mm.
But if we can find what's driving you to food for comfort, you can unwind it, you can release it, your heart can heal. Because no diet, no exercise routine, no magic diet potion can counter the effects of us stuffing down our feelings and following them with a food chaser. We have to let our hearts heal because what I learned was when I faced my stuff, I no longer needed to stuff my face for comfort. So we try to find what is this whole baggage thing going on? And then we shift toward who's your best self? Who is that? And how long has it been since you had a chat with her? Because I don't know about you, Deborah, but when I'm living in my best, I make better choices on
Yeah.
everything. And life is better when I'm at my best. So, how do we reconnect with her? How do we discover her or him? Who is that? And who do you want to be?
That makes me think that those are really great questions and a really good way to kind of get to the bottom of what's going on. I was just picturing the idea of the reason that we might want to lose weight is to look better and feel better. And that's exactly what you're talking about. But it isn't necessarily just slimming down, it's actually what makes you feel better, what heals the hurt. That's really what we're going for, it sounds like.
It is, because when you are feeling better, you're making better choices all around. So you might not need 2 pieces of cake because you're not trying to heal, slake your thirst for love and joy and contentment with food.
Mm.
I mean, if you look at a bag of chips, how does that make you feel better? And yet we've allowed that idea to get into our minds that, oh, this will make me feel better. I did it with peanut butter. Again, peanut butter is a perfectly wonderful food, except in quantity. And I always knew if I was circling my refrigerator, going back to the peanut butter for another spoonful, there was something going on that I needed to pay attention to. And what helped me was when I figured out, what does this mean to me?
Right.
And again, it was deeply connected to my nan, because it was a tangible connection to the love and encouragement that she gave me. And when I realized, okay, she's not in this jar, she's just not. And for the first, she liked a different brand than I did. But when we find
Wow.
out, what is that food doing for you? Where is that connection? And I have an exercise that I go through that you probably heard on the TEDx talk that helps you recognize, okay, what is it about this food that drives me, that calls my name? It'll always be
Wow.
there.
And it's just a matter of once you're aware of it, you can
Mm,
manage it, right?
right. Yeah.
Wow. So then if we do the work, we got to do the work to get the
We
reward, right?
have to do the work. Yes.
So if we do the work and we recognize what's going on, we've got our list of alternatives to choose depending on the scenario. Is there a way, like that's not foolproof, like we could fall through the cracks with that one?
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you can share with us that helps us when we're trying to reach a goal, or when we kind of fall off the wagon a little bit and need to get back on?
Sure. Sure. I have an exercise called the compass, and it helps you to figure out what's going on and do I want this goal or not? And essentially, shall I just take people through it? Shall I take you through it?
Absolutely. Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So close your eyes so you can focus. All right. So if you could have anything or be anyone, who would that be? And just get that in your mind. And what would that do for you? How would you feel? And what's really important about that experience? Are you beginning to feel that a little bit too? That feeling? Okay, so that feeling you have right now is called your compass. And anytime you have a choice to make or an important decision to make, check in with that feeling. If it gives you more of that feeling, then it's probably a good thing. If it takes you away from that feeling, you might want to think about it again. Because when do we most need a compass? but when we're lost. Okay, you can open your eyes now.
Wow. That was palpable.
Yes, yes. And I always give my clients a wristband. They were so popular for a while, but I tell them you don't have to wear it, but you just have it somewhere where you can see it. And it says, check your compass. Just to remind them.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And I love that you called it a compass. I wrote about your inner compass in my book that I wrote called The Successful Healer, with lots of tools to get reoriented. And the idea of the compass is one that I talked about as well, is you kind of need to know something that's stable for you. And I think that meditation that you just took us through gives us some ground to stand on that makes us feel safer as well.
Indeed. It's safety, it's direction, it's security.
It's security. And that's what Maslow says is one of the basic needs, right? We need to feel secure. If we don't feel secure, then we can't build on that. So that is number one. Oh, wow, this is awesome. That is so rich. Oh, I'm so glad we're talking. So if you had some advice that you could share based on the people that you've worked with, and you've worked with lots and lots of people, some of the easy pitfalls that we can fall into so that we can maybe just become aware of them. So after listening to this podcast, that kind of filed in the back of our heads so that if they show up, we know what to do. We've got to get back to our compass. So what kind of pitfalls have you seen?
Well, I think the primary one is that we are trying to stuff down our feelings and not experience them because they're uncomfortable sometimes. So I like to use the illustration of a river, and our feelings are the river. Okay. So we can stick our toes in it. We can swim in it. We can sit on the bank and watch it, or we can skip rocks over it. But the river still flows because our thoughts and feelings will pass through in about 90 seconds, as long as we don't trap them, right? But if we trap them, just like with a river, we trap a portion of the water, nothing going in, nothing coming out. And water that does not move gets a bit gross, to be honest.
Yeah, stagnant.
It gets putrid, stagnant. Yeah, all the oxygen goes out of it. So even if something does, like a fish gets into it, it's going to die. There's no oxygen there. But if we break the barrier and allow the water to rejoin the rest of the river, it will continue to flow. It will reoxygenate because movement helps it with oxygen, and it will flow along. And you don't have to hold it. Even if you're standing in the middle of the river, it will flow past you if you let it. So if you're trying to stuff down a feeling, that's like putting the water in a container just to go dead and putrid. Let it flow. It won't last long as you don't trap it. Let it flow.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. That really sums up the energy work that I do with clients as well. It's about getting rid of the blocks, the energetic blocks, and they could be emotional. They could be all kinds of different things, but energy has to flow, and energy, or really emotion, is energy in motion. It's not supposed to be held, is it?
No, it's supposed to be shared, whatever it is. We just like sharing the good stuff.
Right. But if we allow the healing to happen, so once we identify, this is what I think you're saying, this is what I'm hearing. If we identify the source of why we put those things into our mouth, so we're focused on our our diet, our weight, and the emotional eating component. So if we know why we're eating and we become aware of it, and we have some alternatives, and we have a compass that we can get back to when we fall off track a little bit, then that to me equals success. Is that why you're successful in your managing of your weight?
I think so. I mean, clearly there are things that come up here and there, but you just have to keep dealing with them, letting them, not trapping them. Mm-hmm. But I think we look at diets, which is the 4-letter word we use to talk about nutrition plans. Mm-hmm. We don't learn anything from them. When we finish, get to a point, go off track, whatever, we go back to the way we ate before, rather than using them as learning tools to find what works for your body.
Right.
I know that I love cream cheese or mascarpone, any of those things. And they love me. They like to stick around, usually on my hips.
Yeah.
Not other dairy, but those two in particular just like to stay with me. So I know that if I'm at a point where I think, okay, we might need to pay attention here, and the cream cheese, the mascarpone, they all go, because I need to reorient myself. We get portion creep. And sometimes you have to say, okay, getting a little out of control here. We need to come back to our place where we need to be. And the weight goes. It's when we let it go on for 5, 10, 15 pounds that it gets hard. But I know that if my weight is up for like 4 days in succession, then I've got some portion creep somewhere. It's time to, okay, maybe there were more calories than that than I thought. Or maybe I should have walked my dog another mile this morning. That's probably would be good. But it's recognizing and being on top of it so that it doesn't get out of control. We have to learn what works for our bodies and then do that. Does that mean you never have something off plan? No, of course you do. You just pay attention to it and know that, okay, since I've had 400 more calories than I normally would for lunch, I might need to have a smaller dinner. Yeah. And that'll be okay. So just managing it and not letting it get out of control and going back to the old and not so great habits.
Yeah. So I see that as real true empowerment, because you're in control of your choices then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You are. Your choices, unless somebody's holding a knife to your throat, you're in control of your choices. So choose well. Choose what you know to be good for you.
Beautiful. Well, you have spoken a lot on this subject, and on your website there are some links to videos and things like that. So I'm going to put a link to your website in the show notes. Is there anything else that you want to share as far as how and why people would want to get in touch with you?
Sure. If you are fed up, if you have had it with the diet yo-yo and you want to be done with that, then contact me through packyourownbag.com. And if you'd like that meditation in video form, you can go to packyourownbag.com/friends. You can watch the video with it.
Oh, that is wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been eye-opening, and that aha moment is precious because I love when that happens for me. And I thank you so much for sharing this and that wonderful meditation. I'm going to go back and listen to that over and over, because I think I can, spin that in lots of different ways and have some options for myself as well. That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Renee. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. And did you know that positive reviews from listeners like you help me get these messages out into the world? Leave a rating for Own the Grey on your podcast app or at ownthegray.ca. This episode of Own the Grey is brought to you by I Am. Discover your unique talents, realize your potential, and align to your path. Take the first step to uncover your life purpose by visiting debrajones.ca/courses.